Welcome to the Content Repurposer podcast, where we explore different ways authors can repurpose their book's content for greater impact. I'm your host, Pooja Arshanapally, and today we're focusing on the author Brandon Sanderson. Brandon Sanderson is a successful sci-fi, fiction, and fantasy author and has become one of the most prominent figures in modern fantasy and sci-fi literature today. Brandon Sanderson first discovered his passion for fantasy literature in 8th grade when a teacher introduced him to Dragonsbane by Barbara Hambly. This sparked his interest in reading and eventually led him to pursue writing as a career. Brandon Sanderson, during college, changed his major from biochemistry to English at Brigham Young University, and during his college years, he worked night shifts at a hotel, which allowed him to write while on duty. So Brandon Sanderson has published over 70 books. He has also hit the New York Times bestseller list multiple times and is considered one of the best-selling epic fantasy writers globally. He is known for his popular series like the Stormlight Archive, Mistborn. He has published so many books, and I will just go over some of the popular books he has created. So the first book he published was Elantris in 2005, and this book is set in a fantasy world of Set and revolves around three main characters. Elantris is notable for its unique magic system, complex world building, and exploration of political and religious themes, and it has become one of Sanderson's larger Cosmere universe, connecting it to its other works. It has since become part of Brandon Sanderson's larger Cosmere universe collection, and I'll discuss what the Cosmere universe is later in this episode. So the next book is a trilogy. It is the Mistborn trilogy. And this is a fantasy series set in a world where certain individuals can gain supernatural abilities by ingesting and burning metals. The second book was published in 2007, which is called The Well of Ascension. And then the last book is published in 2008, and it was called The Hero of Ages. So The Hero of Ages won the Whitney Award for the Best Speculative Fiction in 2008. And this series has been praised by critics and many authors, with Orson Scott Card calling it one of the most remarkable fantasy series ever written. While he didn't have a specific award, however, the series' success led Brandon Sanderson to being chosen to complete Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time series, which is a huge significant honor in the fantasy community. So the next series I'm going to be talking about is the Cosmere universe, and this is a fictional universe that serves as a setting for many of his novels and stories. This talks about a variety of worlds, each within its own unique magic system, cultures, histories, all interconnected through a shared narrative. The Cosmere includes some of the books such as Mistborn, the Stormlight Archive, Warbreaker, Elantris, and I'm sure he's still, to this day, continuing to write books within the Cosmere universe. The next series I want to talk about is the Skyward series, which is a young adult science fiction series. And this is more of a fast-paced action, unique world building, and exploration themes like bravery, identity, and nature of humanity. And just wanted to highlight some of the books that were in this series. So the first book is Skyward, published in 2018. The second is Star Sight, published in 2019. Third is Cytonic, published in 2021. And the recently published one is Defiant, published in 2023. Additionally, there were also 3 novellas co-written by Jancy Patterson that took place between Starsight and Cytonic, which was Sunreach, Read On, and Evershore, all published within 2021 and 2022. And these novellas were later collected in Skyward Flight, the collection, published in 2022. This series debuted number 3 on the New York Times bestseller list for young adults hardcover. And despite the publications of books that he's produced, Brandon Sanderson also offers several collector editions of his books, which are highly sought out after fans. So, for example, Sanderson's company Dragonsteel Books produces limited leather-bound editions of his popular works. And a lot of these collector editions are typically priced higher than standard editions. So, for example, on his 10th anniversary leather-bound signed edition of Mistborn, that was listed for $795. For Elantris, some were priced at $300. And these collector editions are popular within his dedicated fan base, and they're often used as prized possessions or collector items. Also, besides his books and his collector editions, Brandon Sanderson's journey from traditional to self-publishing is an interesting evolution that showcases his success within the traditional publishing model and his ability to leverage his established fan base for more independent projects. So Sanderson's career began in traditional publishing, and his first novel, Elantris, was published by Tor Books in 2005, and he continued to work with this major publisher for his popular series, including Mistborn and the Stormlight Archive. Throughout his career, he has been very active in engaging with fans through podcasts, YouTube videos, writing classes, and he has invested his community around his books and his writing process. So in March 2022, Brandon Sanderson launched a Kickstarter campaign to self-publish 4 secret novels he had written during the pandemic. And this campaign broke Kickstarter records, raising over $30 million, far exceeding the initial goal of $1 million. Despite his massive success of self-publishing venture, he still has stated he intends to work with traditional publishers like Tor and Delcourt Press. He sees the value in traditional and self-publishing models, and largely his ability to successfully self-publish is because of his established reputation and his fan base that he has built through traditional publishing, and also through his YouTube channel as well. So another thing is, since even though Brandon's success has drawn attention to self-publishing possibilities, it's also important to note that his case can be unique, and it's not easily replicable for most authors. He hasn't really broken the traditional publishing, but rather demonstrated new possibilities for established authors with a large following. And I think I want to highlight this one thing is the importance of building an audience and a platform. Because he built up such a big audience, it gave him opportunities to change and pave a new path for himself. So if you do choose to do traditional publishing or self-publishing, there is a cost on both ends. But if you do have a platform, you have the decision to make your own rules, and you have the power to influence and drive traffic in other areas that rather than someone just sticking to the traditional and indie publishing path. Besides his book, he's also a teacher. So Brandon Sanderson's lectures, BYU, have become renowned in the writing community. He has a couple of lectures focused on science fiction and fantasy, and this course was originally started in the 1980s and later taught by notable authors like Orson Scott Card and David Farland before Sanderson took over. His lectures are known for practical, craft-focused approach to writing and breaks down complex writing concepts into digestible, actionable advice for anyone who's wanting to start a career as an author. While the course is taught at BYU, he has made the lectures freely available on YouTube, allowing anyone worldwide to benefit from his teachings. And if you haven't watched them, I would highly recommend them. Even if you aren't planning on writing a sci-fi book, I think that his lectures are beneficial to any author. And he also has 2 videos where he just talks solely on the publishing industry as well. And I think it's super helpful to learn more on the publishing industry as a whole if you are deciding to write a book for yourself. Brandon Sanderson also has a significant presence on YouTube and in his podcast, and he uses these platforms to engage with his fans, share writing advice, and discuss more of his work. So on his YouTube channel, he has probably over 500,000 subscribers and more than 800 videos. And he also has a podcast called Writing Excuses, where he co-hosts with other writers and offering advice and insights into the craft of writing. Overall, Brandon Sanderson's YouTube and podcast presence serves multiple purposes. One is to provide writing advice and insights into the craft, keeping fans updated on his work and upcoming releases, engaging fans and answering questions that they have, and then offering glimpses into his writing process and life as an author. Since he has built a platform on his podcast and YouTube, and this is a great way for loyal fans to learn more about what he does and to upkeep with any of the promotional content that he is promoting at the time. Another thing that Brandon Sanderson is doing is he's taking a stand against Amazon's practices that he believes are unfair to indie authors. And this is particularly regarding to audiobook royalties. Brandon Sanderson is right now withholding 5 of his books from Amazon, including Audible, due to concerns over how they treat indie authors. He revealed that Audible offered him 40% in royalties for audiobooks, which is less than 50% typically offered by independent bookstores. Brandon Sanderson is a best-selling author, and he is using his influence to highlight the issue. He believes that if he is getting low royalty offers, smaller authors are likely getting even worse deals. So if you are not in the author space and if you are not an indie author, if you choose to make a livable income solely on the books that you produce, you are dictated by the platform Amazon. Amazon's model is they sell books at a loss. Amazon doesn't make money off their books. In fact, they lose more money on it. Books only make 10% of Amazon's income. However, it is the first place that people look for books. While Sanderson's actions are focused on audiobooks royalties, his stand against Amazon's practice could potentially benefit indie authors across various publishing formats by drawing attention to the issue of fair compensation in the publishing industry. Even though Brandon Sanderson started publishing in the science fiction and fantasy realm, through the different platforms he has built a platform to showcase that he's more than just the books that he offers. He's created a new way that people can start publishing books and is currently helping indie authors find success in their own path. So that's all for today's episode of the Content Repurposer podcast. Subscribe to this podcast if you found this episode helpful, and join us next time as we continue to explore how authors can repurpose their content for greater impact.